Aimed at Bell, who got there. Law! What a moment for Denis Law. Opens the scoring on his second league debut for Manchester City, 13 years after he made his first. Oakes. Marsh. It's Hind in front of him. Looking for Law. The perfect finish to Denis Law's perfect day.
Despite a troublesome knee, the instincts hadn't deserted him. Law scored 12 times in 29 games. This goal in a League Cup quarter-final replay against Coventry kept City on course to the 1974 Wembley final, where Law played in the team beaten 2-1 by Wolves. But what a bizarre final twist when Law returned to Old Trafford at the end of the season to confirm United's relegation.
Lee. Pulled across for Law! Denis has done it! And no elation there at all from Denis Law.
And for me, I didn't want to go out there and particularly win the game. Equally, I didn't want to go there and get beat. So the game for me was going nice, you know, 0-0, 5 minutes to go, whatever. And then I think Franny Lee went up, you know, and crossed the ball over, and I had not a clue where the goal was. And I backheeled it. And I mean, it was a complete fluke. I turned around and Stepney's going that way, which was not unusual for Stepney anyway. I don't mean that. I like, the ball's going in the back of the net. I thought, what? Oh,
can you describe what your feelings were?
It was awful. I thought, what? Dear. I mean, the referee gave a goal as well. I mean, he could have given anything, couldn't he? He could have given offsides, a foul, he could have given anything, but he's given a goal.
Were you heartbroken?
Well, I was very sad, you know, because of course there was a bit of silence in the stadium, other than the Manchester City supporters on the far side. Yeah, I was a professional. I had to, you know, but I could assure you it was an absolute fluke.
But you came off immediately.
I did. In fact, that turned out to be my last kick of a ball ever.
In league football?
In league football. I never touched another ball.
Law did play once more at the 1974 World Cup in Germany as Scotland beat Zaire 2-0. He might even have had another game if Scotland could have beaten Brazil too and qualified for the second phase, but Billy Bremner missed by inches.
When I left Manchester United, it's like the blackest day of your life, really. You know, you've been there for so long and all of a sudden you're out and you think, well, you never survive. And you think, well, there's a huge black cloud. But life is not like that, you know, life changes. And when it looks so black, I got into the city and then I go into the team and then at the end of that I go back into the Scottish team. Scotland qualified for the World Cup. And I got to the World Cup, which was my only World Cup. I only played one game against Zaire. I was on the field anyway, but I got to the World Cup. Now, a few months previous to that, I would never have ever thought that that could happen because I was quite prepared to retire at the end of that season. And I indicated that. I felt I could still play another 2 or 3 years, but I felt that things, you know, weren't going too well, so I called it a day. But things happened and I was forced to leave, and as I say, when they look back, everything went lovely for me. I had a lovely end to my career. It was beautiful.
You went into management?
Yeah, and I enjoyed it too. Preston North End asked me, they came to our house and they said that they would like me to be the manager. And I went there, and I was inexperienced. There was a lot of inexperience about the whole thing, but I was prepared to learn, and I listened, and I spoke to people whose opinions I respected. And we really struggled to begin with, and then it picked up and everything seemed to be going really quite well. And there was a little matter of principle that came up between myself and the directors, and I had to walk away, really. I don't know whether that was right, that I should have walked away. Maybe I should have stopped and battled it out, but it seemed an insolvable problem.
Best at 28 was now a footballing gypsy. Have boots, will play was the motto as he made guest appearances in charity and testimonial games all over the world. A reunion of Manchester United's European Cup winning side in 1975 brought him back among familiar faces. Inevitably, it was a sentimental and nostalgic night for the city of Manchester. But most of the 21,000 people who turned up wanted to see what sort of shape George Best is in. Well, he looked heavier and slower and at times a trifle lost. But he also showed a few moments of the old magic, laying on United's first goal from this pass, and then later on, along with Bobby Charlton, getting his name on the score sheet as United beat City 4-3.
First team won again. Unbeaten again.
You should have put that in straight away, George. You're bugging about in the box there.
It wasn't a penalty either. That wasn't a penalty. Referee's a cheat. That was the best one to the game.
How are you feeling, George?
I'll have a vodka and tonic, please. Okay, great. I enjoyed it.
Hard work?
Well, it's getting harder. No, but I thought we did well, considering we're a lot of old men.
What about you personally? How long is it since you've played 90 minutes of football like that?
I think the last time, sort of seriously, was here. Tony Book's testimony. I still play five-a-sides and, you know, play a bit of tennis.
A few moments tonight when you turned it on and all the old best magic was there, the skills.
Well, it's always nice in any class of football, they get a goal. So I managed this great one in before the whistle went. That was nice.
No thoughts in George Best's mind tonight that maybe he wants to come back to football?
If somebody offers me about 20,000 quid a week, I'll come back. Yeah.
What Fulham paid isn't on record, but they did persuade Best to play for them over 2 seasons in Division 2. He also joined the veterans enjoying an Indian summer in the United States, where even Pelé was once forced to commit the unthinkable and trip him.
I loved it. I love the way Americans treat not only their sport, but their sports people, the sportsmen. They treat them with respect, particularly when they finish, even more so sometimes. It was a little bit unusual, all the razzmatazz and the stuff before the games, but I got used to it, and it was nice because when I went there, I wasn't exactly over the hill. I was still only 29. I was playing with and against players like Beckenbauer. Pelé was there, Cruyff was there, Eusebio was there. I mean, and we were getting crowds, sometimes 60, 70,000 people at games. And it was a tremendous experience. And it was nice for me because I got away from, you know, all the ballyhoo that was going on with the press here. And they didn't treat me as George Best, the soccer player. They treat me as just George Best because they basically didn't know who I was. Mm-hmm.
There's nothing our tabloid press likes more than a fallen hero, especially one who ends up in prison. But despite the boos and the scandalised reputation, Best could still put thousands on a testimonial gate like this one at Ipswich. Those who'd been blessed to see him play during 11 seasons with Manchester United could never forget. And as he drifted around the modest soccer outposts of Hibs and Bournemouth, even he began to lament the wasted years. At 35, Best flirted briefly with the notion of playing again for United and went to watch a match.
As soon as Best took his seat, he was surrounded by fans who clearly haven't forgotten him in the 7 years since he and Manchester United parted company. Whether or not he rejoins his old club on the field has yet to be decided, but he says he would like to play for United again, and during today's goalless draw against Arsenal, many United fans chanted their support for the idea. And as Best watched silently from the stand, he must have been wondering about his chances of making that comeback.
The position is that George Best has expressed a wish to come back to Manchester United. Ron Atkinson is sufficiently interested to want to talk to him. I've spoken to the manager about it, and I've said that obviously the club would want to be satisfied on 1 or 2 things. And of course, so would the manager. One, of course, would be his fitness and whether he would be up to the rigours of First Division football at the age of 35 now. If he is and he proves his fitness, then he can obviously take a chance with the other players in the squad.
Best left shortly before the end of the game without seeing Ron Atkinson, but he's expected to meet the United manager within the next few days.
It came to naught, as did rumours that he'd play for Northern Ireland in the 1986 World Cup. Instead, the often portly figure was restricted to testimonial games, like this one for Pat Jennings, and the occasional role of television celebrity guest. Like Law and Charlton before him, Best was voted a European Footballer of the Year, and it's for those achievements as a great player that he should be remembered.
How do you feel today, George, when people say, oh, George had a limited career, he packed in too early?
I don't know. The thing is, I think if you look at the records, I mean, I came when I was 15 and I left at 26, so I had 11 years. I was the top goal scorer for Manchester United for 6 seasons in a row, and that'll be a long, long time before that happens. I averaged a goal every 3 games, the amount of games I played, and I think if you total up the number of games I played, it's you're talking 600-700 games I played, so it wasn't really as short as some people tend to think.
No, you had a very full career, more than many other players ever have.
Yeah, and not only that, I very rarely missed a game. I mean, I played sometimes. I gave everything to Manchester United. I played sometimes. I used to go out and have fitness tests before games, knowing I wasn't fit. And I had dear old Jack Crumpton kicking me to see if I was fit enough to play in the game. And the pain was unbearable, but I knew that once I actually got out there and the whistle blew, that the pain just ceased. And it's nice because I still think that I give everything I had for the club for 11 great years.
Do you think, now going back, if you could go back to that time, back to 26, would you do it differently now? Would you?
No, I wouldn't. Because I had so much success. I know players who have played for 20 years and won nothing. I won almost everything in 11 years, so I wouldn't change it. And I was lucky enough to play with 2 of the greatest players of all time. And nobody can ever take that away from me. So people keep saying you must regret this and regret that. I don't regret anything.
No regrets?
Not on the field, no. I made a lot of mistakes off, but not on the field.
Bobby Charlton is still at Old Trafford as a club director, who was dismayed at that abortive boardroom takeover that brought his beloved Manchester United so much bad publicity.
What it did, it set off a series of events which meant that the future of the club, who was going to own the club, took over for a whole year, and it was a very uncomfortable period. I hope that it's behind us. I hope that it's behind us because football is about players scoring goals and people enjoying a day out, coming to a football match, and to see all the squabbles that go on in the back room and what directors and who owns what is not really what the fans want. It's not what football's about.
Charlton is now an ambassador for the world game, sought for his wisdom and opinion, remembered and respected wherever a football is kicked.
It's me to do some. Hey, go on, show me how to do it. Go on. Oh, now flick it up onto your head. Hey, me.
I still play matches. If anybody asks me now, I'll play. I still like a game. And, of course, the sports schools now are such a big part of my life that, that's my satisfaction, really. Handing little bits of things on. And seeing yourself in all these little lads here. Just what you were when you were a little lad.
The thing that I miss more than anything, daft as it may sound, is maybe not so much the football, although you do miss that. I miss the companionship of the lads, you know, because every day you're with 25, 30 guys, you know, in a camaraderie of, you know, you can never feel low. There's always a bit of fun being taken, and you're always going here, and you're going there. I miss that more than anything.
What does Denis Law do now? You're on radio, aren't you?
Yes, I do a bit of radio, do a bit of television, yes, in Manchester with BBC Two. I enjoy the radio work. It's lovely. I get out to, which on paper anyway, is the most glamorous game of the day on Saturday, or the midweek game. Well, the one thing that we have missed, obviously, is European football. That was like the jam, wasn't it? The cream that you would get midweek at Liverpool or Man United or Arsenal or whatever. And of course, we're getting back into it. But yeah, and it's an involvement in the game where, to a certain extent, it doesn't really matter who wins. I want the best team to win.